Good afternoon. I'm Mike DeNunzio, the founder of Pebble Ventures. We're a consultancy that helps brands define their corporate strategy and then brand activation playbooks. And I'm really happy to be here with everyone today. We'll talk about the future of self-expression experiences and ownership, in particular as it relates to fashion.
Hi, equally happy to be here. I'm Ashumi. I'm the founder and CEO of Mad Global. We're a creative production agency working at the intersection of creative and technology. We work with primarily fashion, luxury, and art clients, and we also bridge them into the Web3 space in IRL and URL spaces.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. How's everyone feeling? I'm Stephanie. I am what I call a sustainable fashion entrepreneur. So in Web2, I started a fashion brand, which led me to opening up an ethical garment production studio in Bali, where I flew in from. And then from there, it also led me to open a fashion school. And why this all relates is because all of those missions is what I brought into Web3. And that's why I'm excited to be here to talk about that, especially, with my awesome panelist. So, very excited to be here.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good afternoon to everyone. Hopefully everyone's enjoying this afternoon. My name is Lorne Sugarman. I'm the CEO of the Metaverse Group. We are a Web3 technology business bringing brands to life using virtual worlds and NFTs.
Great. Well, I was chosen as the moderator, so I'll start with the first question of how do you see the future of fashion in the metaverse or outside of the metaverse, just Web3?
I'll take that. Well, it's very exciting, the future of fashion, especially as a sustainable fashion entrepreneur. I think the future of fashion, there's going to be more sustainability, especially as you guys saw in the panel earlier, like digital fashion is replacing some of the ways consumers can interact with fashion brands. And that, to me, was what really got me excited about Web3, because, of course, with sustainability, it's kind of like, like the anti if you are always promoting physical products. So now, with digital fashion being involved, especially phygitals, where you can bridge physicals with digitals, it's really, really exciting. So I think the sustainability aspect, it's going to be, major with more like technology and innovations. Even for us, like at our ethical garment production studio, we use softwares like Clo3D. So therefore, we don't necessarily have to make physical samples anymore. And of course, if you have a fashion brand creating physical samples, it's, with a lot of errors and it can cost a lot, not just monetary, but time-wise, and it creates a lot of waste. So I think that's very, very exciting. And as a fashion designer, being able to go into the digital fashion space, you can create anything, so your creativity is limitless. You don't necessarily have to go find a fabric somewhere, you can create whatever it is that you want. And so for me, that's very, very exciting. And what we do with Tiles World is basically to continue to scale that sustainability aspect for the future of fashion.
I think to further upon that, looking beyond sustainability, but even just thinking about NFTs and digital fashion and how are they using them. So it's a great opportunity in the digital fashion world for them to talk to their consumers again, right? It's a unique way to be able to engage with those consumers, and you can do unique stuff where you can tie, as Stephanie was saying, the phygital and digital world together. So think about your supply chain. So you go and sell the NFT in advance. You actually allow the consumer to buy the good that he or she wants, which works into the sustainability platform, but it also is a great supply chain management tool whereby those brands are able to work with their working capital, order those goods in a proper way, again, further into the sustainability side, but great for the consumer too, because now they're choosing the goods that they want, and layer on top of that, now I have this NFT, I'm gonna get some token-gated experience, I'm gonna create community with that consumer as opposed to the old loyalty programs that used to exist, and it can really drive at consumer behavior and really be able to make those consumers feel unique and figure out what they want in the future.
Yeah, and I think something that's really interesting that we're going to probably see a lot of next year as well is the idea of connected fashion and connected physical fashion. So the idea that the chips, the NFC chips, could be actually on a physical garment that then ties to the digital garment. But you could also layer on so much into that, including augmented reality and having that point of sale really not stopping when the physical item is sold at purchase, but actually that's just, it's going to be a networked product that takes you a lot further along that journey across the brand's ecosystem, really. And also helping, I think, connect you to a lot more people that are part of that as well. So kind of, fashion and people that kind of are wearing brands or that belong, it's kind of a tribe. People always, kind of say it's the brands that you wear is the tribe that you belong to. And it's kind of like extending that a little bit further as well. So you can really actually connect with people in the physical, in the physical spaces that are also followers of the brand or wearing that thing. I think G Money is doing something very interesting with 9DCC, where you can have POAPs that are integrated into the physical clothing, so you can scan people that you meet that are wearing the physical item, and then that becomes your little network, and you can kind of follow them around the place. So I think that's what we're going to see a lot more of as well next year.
Sure. And maybe talk a little bit about some of the spaces you're most interested in. So augmented reality, is it virtual worlds, is it gaming? Where do you see some of the kind of most impactful near-term opportunities, or maybe talk about some of the programs that your activations you've read about or that you've been a part of that you think have been the most impactful so far?
I think I've personally always been a huge proponent for augmented reality, just because it gives you access very quickly without with just your mobile device, and you don't really need to have any other piece of hardware that you need to then familiarize yourself in to access any environment that you're part of. So I think I've always, and I want to see almost more use cases coming out of augmented reality that changes the format of how we're experiencing it, like maybe at point of retail, where you can go into a store and instead of trying on a physical garment, you try on an augmented reality virtual garment, right. Which you can then buy as digital fashion, but then you can also probably claim the physical piece for.
Sure. Yeah, we're really big believers in augmented reality, kind of across the board, but also for a lot of the brands that have physical stores, their store associates being able to use augmented reality to better engage with consumers who are right then and there. And then obviously on the e-com side, we think augmented reality is going to be incredibly important, especially in this coming year.
I think it also helps mitigate returns, right? Because if customers can try something on before they purchase, especially like an e-com brand where you're just scrolling on the website, you're kind of like, is that really gonna fit me? But if you can actually somehow try it on, that will mitigate all of the returns. And returns is such a big issue in the fashion industry, and that again relates to waste. And the fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries, unfortunately. So I think, with everything, digital fashion, metaverse, all of that is really going to help those things in a way where also the consumer can be educated. Ashumi, you said something about like with the tracking, perhaps it can even be where, they learn about where it's made or who made it. And I think that will strengthen the connection that we've lost with our garments because of the rise of fast fashion, unfortunately. So I think that's what excites me. What about you, Lorne?
I think there's so many good points here. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's the blend of the physical world and the digital world together, and that's kind of what we're talking about with augmented reality and the ability to use that to help us, whether it's trying on things or whether to enhance a garment and how we look or what we're doing. And so I think you've got to blend those. It makes it much more interesting. In digital fashion, while it's important to how we look and our identity in the digital world, and I got up this morning, normally my 15-year-old daughter dresses me when I come to conferences and speak. Unfortunately, she's not with me in London today, but I care about how I look, and I think in the physical world, as we move around, it's going to be important to us, or in the digital world, sorry, as we move around, it's going to be important to us what we look like as well. And so all these things blend together, and we're going to layer on our physical garments that might be similar to our digital garments, or maybe we'll be really crazy and do the crazy stuff in the digital world and some less crazy stuff in the physical world. So I think all of that is going to work together, and how we blend it and the brands that we use are going to overlap in the future.
Yeah, that's great. What about some of the activations that you've read about, you've seen, maybe you've even participated in, that you think others in the audience should be looking toward to learn from, maybe connect with?
I'll take that one. I went to the first Metaverse Fashion Week this year in Decentraland, which was really cool. I just went in there. That was my first Metaverse experience, so I was not prepared at all. I rocked up in the default avatar, and then I was there, and they were wearing these really cool outfits, and I felt kind of like left out, because I'm like, okay, I'm in the default white whatever outfit. But it was so much fun, and through that, I ended up connecting with another brand that is based in India called XR Couture, and that was because I was literally just walking through the Metaverse Fashion Week, and you would be able to scan, it's like a showcase of all these digital fashion brands, and then they have the QR codes, so you can scan them, and then it will take it to the website. So it's very cool. Like if you have a fashion brand, or if you're a fashion designer, like more of a traditional fashion designer, even exploring the digital fashion route, it opens up more opportunities. And of course, it's the first Metaverse Fashion Week, so everything is a little bit laggy and kind of like pixelated. But I think in a few years' time, it's the tech and everything, it's gonna look so cool. And to me, that's exciting, because I'm based in Bali, so I can't I could, but I'm also not excited about flying 30 hours to New York. So if I could attend a fashion show in the Metaverse, I'm there, And now I have a cool outfit by Eyes of Fashion and also the Fabricant. So I've definitely learned from that experience.
That's great.
I mean, I'm sorry, Ashumi, that was a great event. Very biasedly, I love that event. We created that event. We were part of that with Decentraland. We did the Forever 21 store, if anyone ever saw that. 74 million media impressions, 27 plus minutes people stayed in the store. So people were really interested in the avatars and what was going on and the digital designs. We held a DJ show, and it was really a ton of a fun event. And the team that actually built that, I'm not a coder, is actually sitting in the room today. They're waving, Luca back there, Sean, etc. So amazing to have them here. And so it was a great event. I mean, I'll actually flip it slightly and say my favorite event was slightly different, which is the Miami Fashion Week that we held in Decentraland as well. And the reason that was more important to me was because that was the first fashion week, and that's, I think, something we need to overcome, that actually did a digital and physical show at the same time. So we live streamed content from the physical show into Decentraland. We ran runways with dress acts. It was a highly successful show as well. It'd be nice to see other physical fashion weeks embrace the opportunity to use both platforms.
I actually love what Decentraland is doing, and I think also just coming up for the next one, I think this extension of the physical experiences, kind of supplementing what's happening in the digital world, is really important as well. Just one of the ones that we did recently at Mad Global, we were part of an event for Vogue Singapore's 2nd anniversary, and we launched that in Spatial. Spatial is a photorealistic metaverse, and we launched the Club Vogue room there. I curated photographers that I'd worked with for the last 6 months, and it was a great launch. DressX was part of it as well. And the fact that we can now bring Ready Player Me avatars into the Spatial metaverse and dress them, and really sort of have fun with the digital fashion side of things was really, really great. I mean, there was a few pieces that were designed specifically for that activation as well. So that's the one that happened most recently that I could sort of refer back to. But I'm excited for what Decentraland Metaverse Fashion Week is going to be doing alongside Paris Fashion Week next year. So that's going to be really exciting as well.
And what are some of the things that you're looking for in 2023? I mean, this year was a really good year for a lot of brands to start getting some exposure in this space, start kind of dipping their toes in the water. Is next year going to be a quantum leap forward? Is it going to be a little more of a kind of stair step up? How are you guys seeing that from the different brands? I know the ones that we're talking to conversations are getting much more intense, I would say, in a good way. Like, what is this doing for my business, and how am I delivering value for my consumer, and kind of what is the long-term roadmap, and how do we balance costs with, you know, everything else that we're trying to do? How are you guys seeing it, or in the various brands that you're talking to?
So sorry, I think that certainly the number of brands, the interest level continues to rise, seeing the same thing as you, Mike, which is great. I would say, though, kind of as you said, the talks are getting more intensive, meaning, at least to us, is people are asking for more about KPIs. So what are the things that they want to measure? How do we measure success? And is success just about PR? Or is it about actually more things like ROI? Or is it about increasing my community? Is it about loyalty, some of the things we talked about earlier? And so I think we're going to move to a path where we're going to see a lot more activations and a lot more big brands getting involved, but there's going to be a lot more concrete stuff. It's not going to be about PFPs, you know, just pictures or whatever, you know, as avatars or as digital clothing. It's going to be, what does this do for me? How does this work? Does it have augmented reality as part of it? Does it have other, you know, gated token experiences associated with it? So I think we're going to get to that stage, and that's when I think more of the community joins, because it's real and there's things that you can measure and there's more activity to it.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of brands are really looking into how to reward their loyal customers and bring them in and across this journey. You know, fashion has always been about storytelling, especially where a lot of the traditional and legacy brands are. It really ties very deeply into what the brand's codes are and how to continuously, I guess, engage new customers, but also their loyal customers, and like take them along that journey. So I think we're probably also going to see a lot more immersive experiences, how to actually take what's happening in the digital world, but put it into physical spaces, including and across retail. So I'm really excited to see that.
Great.
I would like to add on to that as well on a consumer standpoint. I think like being able to co-create with your favorite brands, that's so exciting. I don't think that's really something that, you know, we've experienced before. So, you know, when you're part of these brands, you can even design something with them. And, you know, that again goes back to the loyalty, because, you know, when you co-create with the community and you're involved, you'll get rewards. And, you know, that is exciting from both like a brand standpoint, but also a consumer standpoint. And so like with Tiles World, which is my project, with our PFP, we're going to allow the NFT holders to co-create with us and being able to redeem a sustainable fashion outfit on demand. And this is something that they're basically co-creating with the garment makers who are part of our ethical garment studio in Bali. So with that, they're co-creating not just with the community, but with the actual garment makers. And therefore, you know, they're part of this process and learning about this process and realizing that, you know, making a sweater or a blazer or whatever it is that we're wearing, it goes through so many hands before it reaches the store. So I think that aspect is something that can, you know, is possible now with Web3, and it's really exciting.
Great. Well, we have about a minute and a half left. If I'd be curious just to learn for myself from the various things that you've worked on, is there a word that's sort of the North Star for how you think about a program? I mean, for us, when we're working with brands, it's authenticity. That's super important. This idea of how do you be authentic in the environment that you're going into, knowing the intentions of the users of that environment, and how do you translate your brand authentically into that environment? But I'd love to hear from all of you. We've got about a minute left. If there's a word that's a North Star as you think about programs.
Well,
And this is a trick question because we didn't practice this.
I think it's about resonance and relevance. You know, having resonance, of course, with the community that you want to have that, you know, whatever it is that you're building for, but also just being relevant to what it is you're doing. I mean, obviously, authenticity is a huge one. Yeah. For in the brand space. And, you know, kind of just going back to what Stephanie was saying, I think not a negative side, but something that we found challenging is that most brands are not very, I mean, they see the potential and they're sort of still exploring the space, and it's still very much in the discovery side of things, but they're not very open to letting people into that world and allowing them to co-create and collaborate as easily as we would hope or like them to in this space. So I think it's definitely, the needle on innovation on that side moves a lot slower than we would expect it to, but because also user behavior has to catch up, the hardware has to catch up. But one of the things that we really strongly believe in is that when people come together to have shared experiences in physical spaces and you demystify what the technology is about, that's when we really start to see real change happening.
Great.
I think for me, okay, we're running out of time. It's transparency, so I'll leave it at that.
And I'll steal from Mike and Ashumi and kind of say relevance. Relevance is extremely important.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Give them a round of applause, everybody. Thank you.